Are you participating in NaNoWriMo this November, the National Novel Writing Month, where authors write 50,000 words in 1 month? If so, this video is for you. Today we're going to go over a simple checklist for items that you need to be working on now in October to set you up for success in November for National Novel Writing Month. First of all, in October, you need to decide on your book topic or genre. So you should have some kind of idea of what kind of book you want to write. Do you want to write a romance? Do you want to write science fiction? Do you want to write a fantasy? Do you want to write a contemporary Christian? Do you want to write a nonfiction book? What is it that you are looking to write? Typically, for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, it is typically fiction authors. However, I have known many other nonfiction authors to utilize this time during November to get 50,000 words on the page. So you can choose whatever you want to do. You can even work on something that you've already been working on. You're going to add 50,000 words. You're endeavoring to write 50,000 words for the month of November. So it can be anything. So first of all, decide on what your book, topic, or genre will be. You want to write all this down. You can write things down in October, but not the text of your book. So this is your time for all this planning, okay? So October, you're going to use all of this time for planning. Now you want to write down your plot points and also your end goal. So this is going to be, we're going to talk about an outline. It's kind of a rough outline of sorts, but if you know that you want, you're writing a romance and you have a man and a woman, you're going to have multiple points of view. You're going to have conflict at the beginning where they don't think they can get together, and that's just going to keep rising and rising, and until there's a climax moment of where they just definitely don't think they can be together, but then all of a sudden something is going to bring them together. Okay, so you're going to plot all of those points during October. You're going to figure out all about what your plot points will be and what the end goal is going to be. Now, romance, of course, it's always to bring the two people together. But if you are writing a fantasy or you're writing a contemporary Christian or a contemporary novel, what is your end goal? What do you want your readers to have at the end? So you want to be sure you have your end goal set in your mind before you start writing in November so you don't get sidetracked, okay? So that's number 2. Number 3, you're going to decide on your main characters, your protagonist, your antagonist. These are main characters, but you might even talk about minor characters. You might even write that down. So what are their names? What do you know about them? Start creating style sheets for them. Full names, appearance, what do they do for a living? What are their goals? What are their needs? What are their wants? Where do they live? Get into, especially your main characters' heads during the month of October. You want to have a good grasp of who your main characters are so that, again, you don't get sidetracked in November by trying to figure out, oh, do they have blue eyes or brown eyes? Do they have a child? Do they have siblings? Do they have... Write all that down. Create style sheets for each of your main characters especially. Again, this is going to keep you from getting sidetracked in November, okay? So make a style sheet. Don't write any scenes yet. Only write background information. Now, that doesn't mean all of this information that you're writing about your main characters that you're going to include in the book. You're probably not. But this is a way for you to know who your characters are so that you can have a good concept of them in your head when you start to write in November. Okay? So you're not worrying about any of this research things. Research, that's another thing you need to do, especially if you're writing a nonfiction book, but also if you're writing historical fiction or you're writing something based in a specific location. My book coming out in 2024, Changing Tides, was set in Avon, North Carolina. So I had to do some research prior to writing the book, which meant just going to the beach. Sometimes research can be fun. And I had all those kind of things in my head written down. I had all of that information about what the locale looked like, what time of year it was, and then what it looks like during that time of year. So you can have all those research things written down during the month of October. So this is all your prep work, okay? You're going to prep everything. So now you've decided what your book topic is going to be, what the genre is going to be. You've written down certain plot points, maybe even made a rough outline of where they start and where they finish. You know what your end goal is. You have created character style sheets, especially for your main characters. You've created all of that with all of their appearance and needs and wants and that kind of things. And then you've also thought about locale of your book or any kind of research that you needed to perform for the book, any kind of, especially if you're doing historical fiction. So you have all of those things written down. Now that's all about your book. For in October, what you also want to determine is start thinking about when is the ideal part of the day for you to sit down and write 1,667 words, because to get to 50,000 words at the end of the month, you need to write 1,667 approximately words. You can write more than that each day. So you have to start thinking about, do you have time in the morning? How long will it take you to write 1,667 words each day? Sometimes that might be difficult, especially at the beginning. I'm going to give you some tips. But what part of your day do you have the most time? Do you feel the most creative, most awake, most with it, that you can write 1,667 words? Commit to that time in October. Even if that means you need to start setting up a writing schedule in October, not writing what you're going to write in November, but maybe you're writing some short stories during that time, or you're writing poems, or you're doing this research that I'm talking about during that time in October every day. Start creating that habit now. So mine, when I wrote my 2 novels, I wrote Changing Tides, again, which is coming out next year. And I wrote a companion secondary novel to Changing Tides, as yet untitled. I got up in the morning. I always take my dog for a walk in the morning. So that's first thing. That's her routine. She's got to go. So we do that. And then I would come back to the house, sit down in front of my computer and jam out those 1,667 words. Weekends were harder because my husband is here. And obviously my schedule is a little bit different on Saturdays and Sundays. But every other day, that is what I did. I committed to that. During the morning hours was my best bet to get my words written. So start thinking now in October when you think your best time of the day will be, and then start committing to that time to writing. This might be your writing time past November. So you're going to continue using that time, okay, to be as your writing time. Make sure your family knows I cannot be disturbed during this time. If it's not in the morning, maybe it's directly after work and before dinner. But your kids might be bothering you. Make a sign that says, listen, okay, prep everyone that's in your life every day. Prep everyone for November. I am going to be writing from the hours of boom to boom, 4 to 5 p.m. every day. I'm going to write 1,667 or more words. And I need you, family, to leave me alone. Block out that time. Don't take any appointments in November for that time. Really protect that time, because that is what's going to help you. But you need to set that up now. You need to start thinking about that in October. Additionally, you might want to talk to some of your friends. If you have other friends that are doing NaNoWriMo, you can get on the NaNoWriMo site and connect with people that are doing it. If you don't know anyone in your own circles that is endeavoring to do this challenge, you can connect with other people through their website to have as accountability partners. Now, my husband, a couple of my writing friends, they helped me during the month of November because they kept me accountable. Did you write your words today? How much did you write today? In addition, I kept track, and I'll talk about that in a minute too. But you want to set that up now. Talk with a friend, maybe talk an author friend into doing it with you, doing the challenge with you, because then you can bolster each other. I had several friends that also were doing it at the same time. So that helped. We could connect. We could touch base with each other, text each other. Hey, did you get your words in today? Oh, no, I forgot all about it. Okay, I'm going to go do that now. when life gets in the way, we can have these accountability partners to help us. So connect with a friend to help you keep on track. I'm going to talk about in November other ways of keeping track. But these are the ways in October that you're going to set yourself up. Today, I'm recording this on October 11th, so there's still plenty of time in the month to get this set up and prep you and prepare you for November. All of these things you can do prior to November 1, okay? Now, November 1st comes. What is the first thing you're going to do? You're going to, whatever time you set up to go and write your 1,667 words, you are going to utilize that time on November 1st. November 1st this year, I think, is a Wednesday. Wednesday morning, midday, afternoon, late night before you go to bed, whatever time you've chosen, set a timer on your phone. Set a reminder. This is when I'm going to write these words. The first several days of NaNoWriMo is always easy. You have it in your head. You know what you want to write about. It's easy to get it out on the page, okay? These 50,000 words just come, or at least they seem like they're going to. So your first several days, it's going to be like boom, boom, boom. You're going to get out your words. So let that encourage you, but also a little caveat, a little challenge for you. Do not write, this is my own opinion, do not write 20,000 words the first 3 days because you are going to get burnout. I recommend that you write only up to 2,000 words a day, because also then you're definitely going to get that challenge done. Now, if you get later on in the month and you're falling behind because a weekend you fall behind or something, fine. Bump up your numbers, okay? But I would suggest not trying to write, like, don't take 8 hours a day the first 3 days to write. You're going to get burnout quick. If it's not a writing schedule that you're used to. Don't like take off a month, the first week of NaNoWriMo of November and say, I'm taking this whole week to write. Trust me, you won't do it. If you're like me and it's not already a set writing regimen that you have, you're not going to do it. But 1,667 words is completely doable each and every day. Make sure you sit down every day during the time you have allotted to do that and write out those at the minimum 1,667 words. Then also in November, here's another little suggestion that somebody gave me. End every writing session in the middle of a scene. If you finish out a scene you're writing and you're like, phew, okay, I got that scene completely out. Okay, you think at first, that's great. I got so many words down on the page. But then the next morning, when you sit down, or whatever your next allotted time to sit down is to write, you're like, oh, I have to come up with a whole new scene. Okay, where do they go next? Okay, what happens next? That's how writer's block can begin. So it was suggested to me, and it has always worked for me. If I'm like on a roll, but I've already gotten my 1,667 words for the day, and I'm on a roll, right? You're feeling the juices flow, but you're over like 2,000 words for the day. Stop in the middle of a scene. I've stopped already in the middle of a sentence. Here's why. Because the next day, when you sit down to write, you're going to be like, oh, right, I was in the middle of this scene. And immediately you're going to get words on the page. You will probably get your 1,667 words easily. So every single day, make sure that you're stopping in the middle of a scene. Stop before you want to stop. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, leave me a comment, let me know. If you stop in the middle of the juices flowing, the next day your juices will automatically start to flow again. Okay? That will keep you away from writer's block for the month. It will keep you going. Trust me. Trust me on this. Try it and let me know what you think. Another tip that someone gave me is if you get stuck The one thing that you can always do with your characters is sit them down to a meal. Have them eat a meal together. Discuss what they're eating, discuss what they're doing. Remember, the goal in November is just to write 50,000 words. You're going to have a skeleton draft novel by the end. If you're writing historical fiction, if you're writing science fiction, you're writing fantasy, 50,000 words is just the beginning, right? It's not even. Nowadays, books range from 30,000 up to hundreds of thousands of words each. So 50,000 is just your basis. It's just a good basis to get you started, okay? So you want to make sure that you're getting that. You make sure that you're moving forward in that each day. Use a word tracker. So Microsoft Word, if you're using Microsoft Word, I'm sure Google Docs does this. I'm sure other LibreOffice documents do this. We'll keep a little word count, whatever, like at the bottom. What I did was I made myself a little sheet. And if you sign up for my newsletter this month, you can download a NaNoWriMo checklist that has all of these things, a nice little checklist for you that I'm talking about today, including a page with a calendar where you can mark off and you can make little notes. So be sure you sign up for my monthly newsletter this month and you can get that checklist. I made this little calendar that I knew how many words, like what word count I had to be at every day. Yes, we know 1,667 words. If you're like me as a writer, numbers are not your strong suit. Hi, I work with words. Other people work with numbers. So I figured it out. My husband helped me figure it out in October. That's something you can do October. To decide, okay, so the next day, so November 2nd, I need this many words. November 3rd, I need this many words. It wasn't just make sure you write 1,667 words a day. It was, okay, 1,667 plus 1,667 is this. Times 3 is this. Times 4 is this. That's each and every day. So I could look at my word counter very easily in Word and say, oh, I've gotten that word count. I'm good for the day. I'm done. Boom, done. You're moving on to the next day. You're moving on to your life. So use a word counter. Figure that out however you want to work it out. Whatever works best for you. That worked best for me. It really kept me on track. Another tip during November, do not edit. It's okay. So here's one tip. The tip that I talked about of ending in the middle of a scene. This works great because all you have to do is read like a couple of sentences of what you wrote the day before, and you're like, oh, right, boom, into the story, right? This helps you not to edit. Now, listen, I'm an editor by profession, so I have difficulty with this. I want to go back and edit things right away, but no, NaNoWriMo, the month of November, is not the time to edit. It is the time to write. So you just want to get out these 50,000 words. You don't want to edit anything. So if you use my tip about ending in the middle of the scene, that helps because you only have to go back a couple of sentences to remember where you are. You don't have to read from the beginning. You don't have to read a whole chapter to be like, oh, right, okay, they've done all that. Okay, now I need them to do this. That will help you keep on track if you don't edit, if you don't have to go back. Your outline, sorry, you probably heard my dog. She's shaking and running about. This way, if you're using the outline, if you're using my stop in the middle of a scene, if you're using your word tracker, all of these things are going to keep you motivated to keep going and get to your 50,000 words in November. Okay, so don't edit. Don't go backwards. Don't be like, oh, I was writing in past tense. Now I'm writing in present. Okay, you might want to think about that, but don't go back and fix it all because that's going to take up the time that you have to write. We are busy. We have that allotted time, right, to write what we want to write, those 50,000 words. So just keep moving forward. At the end of the month, when you have gotten to your 50,000 words, then it is time to celebrate. NaNoWriMo on their website, they will give you a little graphic you can use, and they have like a little pa-da that you've done the goal. And then in December, you can edit. In January, you can edit. and talk to agents and talk to publishers and find out where you're going to go with this and get beta readers. This is the time, November is the time to write only 50,000 words. It seems like a lot. You can break it down, 1,667 words a day. Sign up for my monthly newsletter where I give more tips like this and little digestible bites twice a month into your inbox. And you'll get this NaNoWriMo checklist that I went over today, as well as a little calendar sheet that you can mark off, write up, and utilize during the month of November. So I hope this has helped you. I am on board for you. And if you are doing NaNoWriMo this month, November, if you are doing November, NaNoWriMo, please leave me a comment and let me know. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what your genre is. I'll be rooting for you. I will be praying for you. I'm not doing it this year, but I've done it the last 2 years and have finished it. I have 2 novels I'm working on because of NaNoWriMo and because of these tips. So I hope that you'll utilize them, and I hope that you will find value in them and get your novel written. Good luck and God bless.